Well, now to Ukraine. Remember that war? Russia has launched nearly 1,000 drones at Ukraine in the last 24 hours. Authorities said several people had been killed in one of the largest aerial onslaughts in 4 years. Many of the targets were far from the front lines in the west of the country. Among them, a 17th century church in the UNESCO-protected old town of Lviv. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy said the attack showed Russia's absolute depravity.
A time-lapse from the International Space Station shows Ukraine's capital besieged, while the rest of the country is plunged into darkness. The bright light in the center of the screen is Kiev. The streaks of light are likely Russian missiles. The flashes of light that follow explosions in Kiev. In the months since these recordings, there has been no let-up in the fighting. Russia launched a massive overnight wave of 400 drones, supported by missile and artillery fire at Ukrainian targets throughout the country. Residents of this apartment in Zaporizhia barely had time to flee the assault.
A very loud explosion woke us up. We quickly gathered our things and ran downstairs. Everything was on fire on our floor. There was a direct hit to our floor, but our flat is on the opposite side. There was smoke and we took our 3-month-old child and ran quickly to the underground shelter. My car is destroyed. All of our windows were blown out.
Brazen daylight attacks like here in Lviv continued during the day. Experts warn this could be the start of an expected spring offensive and warn that Ukraine's civilians are squarely in the crosshairs.
Strikes on energy and other vital infrastructure are cutting civilians off from the basics of survival: electricity, water, heat. Tens of thousands of families across the country are left in the dark and cold for weeks on end. These attacks reflect a sustained pattern of damage to the systems on which civilians depend to survive, with humanity increasingly stepping in to fill the gaps left by the deterioration of essential services.
With fighting reported across the front, civilians here are bracing for more waves of Russian assaults.
Let's pick this up with Mykola Bielieskov, who is a research fellow at Ukraine's National Institute for Strategic Studies. That's part of the Office of the President. He's also a senior analyst at the Ukrainian NGO Come Back Alive. He joins us from Lviv in western Ukraine, which, as you saw in the report, has been hit today. Welcome to DW. How has your day been?
Well, it's another difficult day of the war with another bunch of Ukrainian cities being attacked. And it's a good reminder to everyone, outside observers, that the fact that Ukraine survived this terrible winter, it doesn't mean that Russian attacks would stop. And Russia definitely would target critical infrastructure, the infrastructure to sustain Ukrainian society, because there are very small chances that there would be major advances on the front line, a major breakthrough. So they are banking on Ukrainian state not being able to function. So be prepared for more of this kind of attacks, unfortunately.
This was a massive attack, 1,000 drones in 24 hours. Ukraine's air defences are famously running low on munitions. How did those air defences cope?
Well, it's kind of a typical attack, and probably for Russians it would be difficult to sustain this tempo of attacks because you need quite a lot of time to program each UAV. Otherwise, we see how Russian adjusts to Ukrainian counter-adjustments. So they decided to launch 2 waves, so one during night and another during day. And definitely, when a lot of munitions was consumed during the night, it means that the attack during the day would be more effective, more deadly. So it's another sign that Russians are constantly involving in their deadly tactics of attacking Ukrainian civilians and their infrastructure.
Right. So that's new, is it? This double hit, nighttime and daytime. Because the Ukrainian munitions will be depleted. That's a new Russian tactic.
Well, to say that it's a zero bet, we need to see. I mean, it's a one-time occurrence. If they keep attacking us in this way, right, yes, we can say that there is another evolution in Russian tactics.
Understood. And is this the start of a so-called spring offensive that so many experts have been predicting?
It's better to separate what is going on the front line and Russian attacks against infrastructure in their areas. So these are rather separate processes. Yes, we've seen an uptick in the fighting in the front line. During the last 8 days, Russians lost more than 9,000 dead and wounded, and the intensity of fighting is quite intense. But their continuous attacks against critical infrastructure, it's a separate campaign on its own, basically, and they are not very much related. So they exist in parallel. Yes, they complement each other, broadly speaking, strategically, but these are parallel occurrence, and I don't see any close relation between what is going on the front line right now and what is going on with the strikes which target infrastructure. The only link is that Russia would bet on destroying infrastructure because there are very slim prospects of a classic breakthrough on the front line.
Tell us how Ukraine has been affected, if at all, by the fact that the world's attention is now focused on what's going on in Iran. Does that have any effect on how you prosecute the war, on how you does that have any effect on what you get from the rest of the world?
Right now, we don't have any immediate negative direct effects on our fighting capability, but definitely Ukrainians are very pragmatic. We learned the lesson of world politics and we calculate the risks in terms of competition for the interceptors in coming one, in terms of our partners having balance of book problems if this conflict goes on and they import the fuel. And in general, this another transatlantic rift around of tensions between US and European partners. So all this stuff is widely debated in Ukraine, along with prospects opened in terms of our expertise in air defense related, specifically to kamikaze UAVs. So we debate both risks and opportunities inside Ukraine these days.
Okay, thanks for talking us through that, Mykola. Mykola Bielieskov, thank you so much.